Hi, everybody. This is Tim Carr. I'm the Sun Terrace neighborhood president for the Sun Terrace Neighborhood Partnership. We put together this debate tonight, this forum, if you want to call it that, for the District 2 City Council seat. We're not affiliated with any political party. We thought this forum may be helpful to the voters of the North District. The questions come from the public. They've been emailed to us. We've had this up on Nextdoor since August 5th. We will announce the way we're going to do the questioning is we will announce first, we will tell them about how long they're allowed to respond. Then we will tell you who is going to start speaking, and then we'll read the question. The candidates will just work in an order of Hope, then Harmish, then Carlin, then Paul, and it will just cycle around. Whoever, every one of them gets to start a question, and so it will end up in a different order who starts every time. So let's begin. Let's see. So to begin with, we're going to have an introductory statement from each candidate, and it's not to exceed 2 minutes. And there will also be given a few minutes at the end of this program, which is at 8:30. We're going to go until 8:30. And at the end, 20 after 8, we will give the candidates about 2.5 minutes to wrap up and talk about whatever we missed. So to begin with, the first candidate that's going to speak is Hope Johnson.
Hi, I'm Hope Johnson. I am excited to run in the first District 2 election since we started district elections. I grew up in the North Concord neighborhood by North Concord BART, where I live now. That's part of District 2. And I am going to give you a little background. I went to high school here, and then I left and went to UCLA and came back. And then I lived for 10 years in San Francisco and moved back to Concord in 2013. I currently work as a senior paralegal and a legal analyst at a maritime law firm in San Francisco. And I'm running for District 2 because I feel that our district has long been neglected by the council. Almost everybody they appoint to commission and boards lives east of Willow Pass Road. And we're kind of an economic driver for the city, but we haven't really had a voice in the development. So I've been advocating for us from before we had district elections and before I ran, and I hope to continue to be able to do that. I'm going to be advocating for things that I've always advocated for, that the city budget needs to be more equitable. We need to divide it among other departments and social services, affordable housing and tenants' rights, and of course the Concord Naval Weapons Station. I know you're going to hear a lot of stories about the Naval Weapons Station, but for those of you who have been here, you know that I've been advocating for our district for green space, for the cleanup. I go to all of the Navy meetings, and it's very important that we understand that our voice was neglected for the most part in all of the development planning. And I have been there the entire time. And I feel like the council has done a really bad job of governing. They govern from crisis to crisis, some of them of their own creation. And we don't have to live like that. We can have an equitable budget. We can have affordable housing. We don't have to live from crisis to crisis. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker should be Harmish.
Yeah, hi. I think I'm having some technical difficulties with my video. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes. I don't see you at all.
Yeah, I can't see myself either. So that's a good sign. So let me start talking through audio. Yeah, I'm Dr. Harmesh Kumar. I'm licensed clinical neuropsychologist and a resident of Concord for last 28 years. I served in Concord for 5 years on the Human Relations Commission, then chair of the commission. Then I served 5 years on Mayor Q Committee. And most of you know that I have been running for last 3-4 times for this Concord City Council, because I'm so passionate about none of the candidates, those who are running right now, they have no background in diversity. They have no clue how to face the racial biases. They have no clue how to, when you have fallen, how to get up and how to start a new business, how to do survive in this chaotic world we live in. And I have gone through all that. I know what racism is. I know what implicit biases are. I know what it takes for a new immigrant to come and be successful in this country. And I know how to navigate the complicated system we live in. Even new immigrants, as we know, they are discriminated for getting mortgage loan. They are discriminated getting all the services because the system is so complicated. And I know it all. I have gone through this and I survived through this. So that's why I wanted to, again, put my hat into this. And I think the system, I have been talking about the mental health needs of the community for the last 28 years. I started mental health agency to serve the underserved population in '93. Now it's called the Hume Center. We're still providing those valuable services. And now community is all aware of it, but it is at stake. And when we have very chaotic voices coming all the way from the top of the nation and creating all the violence, all the chaos, we need somebody who understands and can connect the dots. And I could do that. That's why I'm running for District 2 City Council. Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening.
There you go.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Carlin Bringer, and I'm proud to serve the council member. And I want to say thank you to everyone who organized this event for us tonight. I was elected to the Concord City Council in November 2016, and I've served as your mayor and your vice mayor. I'm running for re-election to continue to provide leadership through the pandemic and continue my proven track record of problem solving with and for the Concord community. During my time on the council, I've overseen the planning and development of more housing for Concord residents at all affordability levels. I've helped to maintain and create more jobs in Concord, many in District 2, so that people can spend more time with their families and less time commuting, just as I was asked to do when I ran for City Council in 2016. I protected the community's vision for a world-class project at the former Concord Naval Weapons Station, improved the condition of our roads and parks, organized new community cleanups in North Concord and downtown Concord, preserved resources for seniors and public safety, and I've maintained a balanced budget. During the pandemic, I voted to protect tenants and small businesses from evictions and rent increases, supported Concord small businesses via over 24 videos that I have personally made and promoted via my social media, and ensured that homebound seniors receive daily hot meals. And recently I worked to create a small business grant program using CARES Act funding to support our local economy. The fund will provide financial support to 130 small Concord businesses. The money's going out next week. And it will also help to approximately $400,000 will go to help 45 families and seniors stay in their homes. So during these challenging times, Concord needs steady, proven leadership. I have the experience Concord needs to overcome the pandemic and economic downturn and emerge stronger on the other side. And so I ask for your vote on November 3rd and encourage you to visit www.carlinobringer.com for more information. Thank you.
Next, we'd have Paul Wood.
Thanks, Tim. Hi, good evening, Concord voters, friends, family, and neighbors. My name is Paul Wood, and I'm running the campaign for change in Concord City Council, District 2. Why am I running? Now is the time to strengthen our community and ensure all voices are heard. It's time to make positive changes to ensure a bright future for you and your family. As City Council member, I'll definitely listen to your needs and promote home ownership, safety, vibrant schools, and a clean community. My spouse and I own a home here in Holbrook Heights and have 3 dogs. I absolutely love living in Concord. We love our neighbors and are working to build a community that supports one another while reopening our parks, dog parks, and public spaces for safe use. The same people making the same decisions will keep Concord stagnant. I stand for change and I stand for progress. I'm not afraid to take a stance. I'm also able to listen and represent the popular opinion in District 2. I also feel that some poor decisions have been made. The project developer, Lennar, for the Concord Naval Weapons Base was a $14 million mistake, and it set us behind about 4 years. Due to union disagreements and scandal, now we need a new project developer. Do we want to trust the same city council with our time and our money again? Should we give them a second chance to mess it up in the next 4 years? It's important to me that our community is diverse and that all minorities feel welcome and inclusive. I will also work to lessen homelessness and keep our streets, sidewalks, and BART trails clean. We must work with our police department to build trust while supporting local events. I'm for helping our community members find a path to citizenship and helping schools reopen in safe ways that include online learning. Thank you, and I look forward to your vote.
That's Paul's timer.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. All right. So next we're going into a section about, we're going to start some questions here. Harmish will lead off the answers. We're going to have 2 minutes to answer this question. This section is talking about the city sales tax. And Harmish, there was a button next to the mute button. When you move the mouse down near the bottom of the screen, it says video. And you should be able to click on something that says start video. Okay. So we're going to start with talking about the city sales tax that's on the ballot this November. By the way, it's called Measure V, as in victory. There will be 2 questions and you will have 2 minutes to answer each question. So we're starting with Harmish. The city has a deficit in its budget. How much do you think it is? And how specifically do you propose to close that gap?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can see you and hear you.
Okay, good. There is not a specific amount which I know what is the deficit, but deficit, when I talk to some of the city council member and some of the people in the city, the deficit ranges from 14 to $18 million. But the specific numbers are not clear to me because the city doesn't give you the proper information. Whenever you ask for information, there is always something not clear from the information you get. So based on that numbers, I think we have this Mayor Q, which is about to be renewed. And I do support that we need to get that fund so that we could fill the gap. But initially, because I served on Mayor Q committee, when we started the Mayor Q committee, it was mentioned that it will stay there for 5 years, then it was extended to 10 more years. And now we're asking for unlimited time. And that's where I have the problem, that we cannot continuously keep borrowing money, which we don't have, and then spending that money on these bureaucrats and some of the people we're hiring and some of the legal team we have hired under the current city council membership. They are messing with our budget. They are messing with our taxpayer money. They are spending on things which we don't need. They have hired these legal firm to give them the legal opinion or legal support in this 14 million debacle they did on Concord Naval Weapons Station. And we cannot afford continuing the same kind of policies which are failing all of us. Thank you.
Next would be Carlin.
Thank you. So as a council member and mayor, I've worked with my colleagues to try to solve the budget challenges facing the city of Concord. And we've really been facing challenges since the Great Recession, as most every city in California and the country has been. And over the past 4 years, we have worked very hard on developing a fiscal stability plan. And just for those who have been attending our recent budget meetings, we have been going into details, in fact, for the past 3 years about our budget, our structural budget deficit, which was 33 million prior to COVID. It is now 45 million. Now, what do I mean by structural budget deficit? I mean that during my time on the city council, the council has taken the time to look at our unfunded liabilities in terms of pensions, in terms of infrastructure, including parks and roads, and we've put that all into one budget, whereas in the past, previous councils looked at everything separately and they never quite knew what the structural deficit was. So we're looking at $45 million, and we have taken a number of steps to balance the budget quite recently. In fact, we just made $10 million in cuts in June. Most of the savings were achieved through the elimination of 36 staff positions and employee payback and benefit givebacks. And just to give you an idea, prior to the recession, the city of Concord employed 504 staff members, and the staff headcount for this fiscal year, 2020-2021, is down to 382. So without additional revenues, we've already made cuts within departments, we've already made cuts to our fleet, and we do need additional revenues. And whenever I was mayor, I made a point of making sure that we went out into the community in every city council district, and we held budget workshops to explain to the community why we were facing budget challenges, even though the economy was good. And we solicited feedback from the public, and the public was looking from us to create a solution through cuts, which we have done, as well as through revenue generation. And so that is the purpose of placing Measure V on the ballot, to continue to provide some revenue stream for core city services. But I'm open and will continue to be listening to the public to hear what city services are important to preserve, what areas they're looking for more creativity and innovation and technology to be deployed. It's an ongoing challenge, but we've been working very hard on the city council to address fiscal stability pre-COVID and during COVID as well. So the public is welcome. All of the budget information is on the city website, and I anticipate that we are going to continue to have budget discussions in the fall once we find out what our situation is due to the drastically reduced sales tax, as well as hotel tax as well, that's been greatly impacted by COVID-19.
Okay, thank you. Next is Paul.
Thank you. So the city has about a $14 million deficit, and some of the things that I would support to lessen that deficit are to continue to cut unfilled open positions, to lower our spending and be fiscally responsible. And I would support Measure V, the sales tax that's a ½ cent increase to 1 cent sales tax. I think that would definitely help us in not having that $14 million deficit. I would continue to support local businesses in their recovery from this COVID pandemic, and entice all size businesses to come to Concord with tax breaks. So we definitely need more industry and more citizens here so that we don't have that $14 million deficit. Thank you.
Okay, then next is Hope.
Can you hear me? My mute wasn't working. So the city does have about a $33 million budget. I knew it had grown since the pandemic, so I appreciate Councilmember Obringer bringing us up to speed that it's now $45 million. I absolutely disagree that the council has done everything that it can to figure out new ways to get revenue. They've been absolutely dependent on sales tax, sometimes contradicting themselves. They want to get rid of cars, even though cars are our biggest generator of sales tax, and they've done nothing that that would make up for that revenue. So I believe that we need to, and I've advocated for this for years and years. I'm not jumping on any bandwagon. I've been publicly advocating for us to reconsider spending almost 60% of our budget on the police department. There are jobs that we ask the police to do that they shouldn't do. And what happens is it becomes cyclical where we're just throwing money at it. So for example, the homeless issue is not something that you can solve by making it criminal. You need to have social services so we can solve it and stop just throwing money at it. So when we do pass, if Measure Q passes, which they're trying to double it, but the estimate of $27 million they've given you is from 2018. So it will not come close to covering it. So the person who is on council is going to have to learn to make do with what we have. And we need to redistribute what we have to cover everyone in the city, the working class people and the people that are brown and black and indigenous and homeless. All of those people have been left out of the budget because we give so much of it to one department. So we need to make sure that we have a more equitable allocation. Ours is outdated. And in the meantime, that's in the short term because we have a crisis and the council didn't address it before, and now they're having to address it under dire circumstances. So we'll have to make do with what we have, and I have a plan for that.
Okay. Good question to start with, huh? All righty. The next question has got also 2 minutes to answer. And this question is, a new sales tax increase called Measure V is on the ballot to raise the city rate from 0.5% to 1%. As an example, and I'm just doing this for everybody out there, you need supplies for your children to go to school, and they cost $100. So we currently pay 8.75% tax to your total bill now ends up $108.75. If the new sales tax is enacted, you will now pay $109.25, which is an increase of 50 cents. Do you support this increase? And we start the questioning with Carlin.
Thank you very much, Tim. So as I've mentioned, as a council member, I have been working for the past several years to try to address fiscal stability in our city. But those of you who have been paying attention for a while might remember that I did not support placing a measure on the ballot in 2018. I was one of the votes against placing a measure because I didn't feel that the public had been educated as to why it was necessary. And so as mayor, I made sure that we had community outreach events, as I've just mentioned, town halls in every district, prioritizing our tomorrow, one in each council district, and also online tools so that people could work to try to come up with their own solutions and suggest those to the council. Results from those conversations indicated a majority interest in closing the city's budget gap through, as I've mentioned, a combination of cost reductions, which I've already mentioned that we have done, cutting $10 million just in June from the budget and reducing staff by 36 staff members, delivery service changes, and increased revenues. And that's where Measure V comes in. Now, when I ask voters what their top concerns are, the condition of the roads is always mentioned, especially East Street. My brother-in-law says it's the worst street in District 2, and I don't disagree with him. So should Measure V pass, the list of community identified spending priorities includes roadway investment. And when I say roadway investment, I'm talking about expanded pothole repair, crack sealing, street maintenance. And at the same time, that would increase our ability to invest more funding in roadway repair from the current $6 million that we have annually. You know, if we just even want to keep the roads in the condition that they're in, and I'm not saying that they're great, but to keep our pavement index at the current level, pavement condition index at the current level, that would take $26 million annually. Now, other spending priorities identified by the community would include maintaining 911 emergency response times, homelessness response, mental health crisis response, community-based policing, parks, open space and recreation, maintaining the senior center and its programs, and youth and teen recreational programs. So there's a lot of opportunity should the voters decide that they would like to support Measure V. And I also would like to add that we can't just raise revenues in that way. I'm committed and have been a strong advocate for attracting jobs here to the city of Concord. In fact, I just helped with my council colleagues to rezone a fallow piece of land in North Concord to an industrial use. And just today, I spoke with the developer and broker of that property, and that is going to bring 150 living wage jobs to our community. So it's activities like that, the goodwill visits that I made to top employers when I was serving as mayor last year, to help grow jobs at Cirrus Corporation, a biotech company, as well as Asset Mark, a B2B financial services company. These jobs help to employ Concordians, and they're part of growing the economic development pie. So through a combination of revenue generators like Measure V, as well as additional job creation, we will be able to emerge stronger from the pandemic.
Okay, Paul?
Thanks, Tim. I'll keep it short. I definitely support Measure V and the ½ cent increase to 1 cent. I work in retail. I love shopping. So with that sales tax going from $108.75 to $109.25, it's less than $1 each time you spend 100. So I think it will go to a good cause. I think it will close that $14 million budget gap. I definitely think it will help with road repairs. Our roads are not in great shape. As Carlin mentioned, they're around a 6 out of 10 as far as roads go. And we want to keep Concord beautiful. We don't want to spend that extra money on car repair. So I'm definitely in favor of Measure B. Thank you.
Okay, or motorcycle repair. Next is Hope.
Yes, I do not support doubling Measure Q sales tax because it is a regressive tax, which means that it hurts the people who have the least amount of income. They end up paying a greater percentage. Even this example that they've given, that a child's school, that you could spend $100 on that, there is a huge percentage of our community that can't spend $100. They don't have $100 to spend on their kids' school supplies. And we cannot keep asking them to save Concord by putting it on their backs. Now, if it had, because of the pandemic, I would have supported it being just extended. But council went ahead and tried to trick you into saying it was extended even though it was doubled. Now, this is up to the voters. It's not up to me. So whatever the voters decide, that's what we'll live with. But I would like to point out to you that as the people talk about we're going to fix the roads, we've had Measure Q for a really long time, and yet the roads are still not fixed. And the last time that you extended it, the council immediately voted to allow themselves to pay a pension with it. So their unfunded pensions are now covered under Measure Q. And I wouldn't mind, except that we need to make sure that there is some other tax, such as Prop 15. So we support Prop 15 that's coming up for the state so that we can make sure that the people who are wealthy and privileged pay their fair share. And you're going to see that it's slightly misleading because the 2018 estimate is being used of $27 million, and you're going to fall far short of that. It's not going to do all the things that are being promised to you. And you need someone in there who's willing to look for other ways to make that up. And you're going to see we're going to need that because people are not able to shop right now. But we'll have to wait and see whether it passes. And there's another measure, a state county measure, that is going to increase the tax even more. So the idea that you'd only pay $109.25 is false if both taxes pass. Thank you.
Next would be Harmish.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Tim?
can.
Okay, good. You know, I agree with what Hope has said, but I disagree with that she doesn't want to support it. We do want to support Measure V so that we could get the funds we need. But at the same time, we don't need to make it unlimited or continuous. We need to put some brakes on this because sometimes it is not the elected official, it's not the council member which make the decision. It is the bureaucrat, the city manager, the city attorney. They write these convoluted laws, and the language they write is so convoluted that ordinary people cannot understand. You need to have a more than PhD in economics to understand what they're talking about. So we need to create this funding, and we need to create funding in a way that it is not in perpetuity. We need to stop it somewhere so that people don't continually keep paying for things which only bureaucrats want, not the people elected by the people, and those who want. And we need to have a shift, even in paradigm, how we rule, how we administer our city. Most of the decision agenda is set by the city manager because it's not a city which is a kind of chartered city. It's a general law city. And in the general law city, as we heard from the city manager, it is the city manager who set the agenda. And she could put the agenda on, and she could delete the agenda if it doesn't suit to her cronies or to all those bureaucrats she want to hire as consultant. So we need to continue this, and I'm for this. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to use Jeanette Green now.
All right, well, thank you, Ken.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, thank you, candidates, for attending this. I have 4 sets of questions. The first question is going to be directed to Paul. And the first question is, and it's a yes or no question, Paul. Are you in favor of continuing to develop the Concord Naval Weapons Station?
Absolutely. Yes, we definitely need to develop that land. It's definitely important for the progress in Concord. It's wasted space right now, and we need it to grow our population and our industry here in Concord. And I'm a big proponent of green space. I would love to see hiking trails and utilize that land for affordable housing and for luxury housing, and to get more citizens here in Concord and to move us forward. So definitely a yes.
All right, thank you. Hope, you're next.
I do support continuing the development. If we don't, the Navy may give it to somebody else and we won't have as much say. I'd like to start over with a trustworthy developer and make sure that District 2 has green space, the council reserved green space for the people on the other side of the Naval Weapons Station, but said we were just up in the air. So the development has to be equitable, but yes.
All right, well, thank you, Hope. Harmesh, you're next.
I do support it too. We do need new development there. And what I would like to do is, because we're paying so much, we're talking about the budget earlier, we could develop a solar village in that some portion of that land so that we could take care of our own needs. But what has happened with PG&E and even with MCE, that we do need to create our own utility district where people could take care of their own utility or needs. And we do have the land and we do have the kind of resources to create a solar village there so that we could feed the city and right down need for the utility, for the electricity and other things we're developing more and more.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Carlin?
Yes, and over the past 4 years, as your city council member, vice mayor, and mayor, I've been a strong supporter of the community-driven vision for a sustainable world project at the Naval Weapons Station. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and the Navy, if we don't develop it, will turn it over to someone else and take it out of our control. We have a wonderful community-developed vision for the project, and it's critical that this redevelopment happens in the best interest of Concordians. And I'm very excited to be part of the process to ensure that over 2,500 acres of the property has been transferred to the East Bay Regional Park District for an East Bay Regional Park, the first one in Concord. And I was also the council member who led the 3-2 vote on the council to terminate our contract with the largest home builder in the country who refused to uphold their commitment to the working people and the requests of District 2 residents for more open space, traffic mitigation, and less dense development right in their backyard. So, I'm running because I want to be there at the decision-making table in 2021, whenever we are looking at an RFP and selecting a new master developer, because I want to ensure that whomever the city council selects has the best interests of Concord top in mind and will keep the best interests of the people of Concord at heart and be with us for the long term, not just for short-term profits.
All right, thank you. All right, the next question, everybody will have 2 minutes. And the next question is as follows. The city will be reissuing a request for proposal for the weapon stations within the next 5 months. Will you insist that the agreement requires that the developer has an agreement with the Central Building Trades Council that represents 27 trades? Will the RFP response be required to include an agreement that both parties sign before the city? And the next one up, Ms. Hope, you're up.
Yes, I'm gonna.
You want me to reread it to you, my dear?
Is that me echoing? Something seems to be wrong with my audio. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. So I do support having the PLA. I want to remind everybody that the reason Lennar was terminated had nothing to do with District 2. And it's important for you to know that, because in the future, you got to watch out for that. The cleanup's going to be very dirty. The PLA and the Lennar and the building trades were not able to reach an agreement on the PLA. And in fact, when Councilmember Obringer was mayor, she worked with the PLA and the Lennar in an ad hoc meeting that we could not see to try to keep Lennar in the Concord Naval Weapons Station. So make sure that you pay attention to what's going on. And I would support having a PLA and the RFP, but I want to make sure that you don't rest on your laurels on that, because the city cannot require that the developer end up having the PLA. So the city will only be able to do what they did with Lennar and say, if you don't have a PLA, you will be out. So putting it in the RFP is an excellent idea, and they should do it. But you should keep in mind that the PLA is going to be between the building trades and the developer. So even if it's in the RFP, if you don't have a trustworthy developer, which I walked in here and I said, Lennar is not trustworthy, and the council didn't care. And although Councilmember Obringer was not on council, she went on to endorse every single person who voted for Lennar, even though we had examples of how terrible Lennar was. So you need a trustworthy developer, or as I said from the very beginning, everything will slowly fall apart. So you can put the PLA on the RFP. I think it's very important. I think you require the developers to come with it, but keep in mind that the only recourse you will have is that the city will be able to tell the developer to get lost and they'll have to start again. So the most important part is to start with a trustworthy developer. Thank you.
Thank you, Hope. Appreciate it. The question next is Harmesh.
Yeah, I think I'm in favor of this, and we do need to have a PLA in the process. But one thing I'm very unhappy with the labor organizations, because they don't have a diversity in them. Only top decision makers are from the mainstream community, and they don't take into consideration the perspective of the diverse community we have in District 2. So that's the only request I will make to PLA, that they need to involve all the diverse group of people, those who are representative of District 2. And they haven't endorsed even a single person from the color community over the years, all these labor organizations. And that's what makes me a little bit sad, that on one hand, they are representing the unions, but on the other hand, they don't want to involve every Tom, Dick, and Harry, so that they could be part of this whole process. So that's the only thing I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Harmesh. Next is Carlin.
Thank you. Yes, I do support a project labor agreement, and I have supported a project labor agreement for the simple reason that working men and women make up the building trades and our labor unions, and that is the backbone of our middle class and our Concord community. Now, I've heard Ms. Johnson refer a few times to my record, and so I think it's important that I set the record straight. I'd like to encourage the public to go back and watch the City Council Special Saturday session on December 9th, 2017, or the June 6th, 2018 Concord City Council meeting, or maybe the August 22nd, 2018 City Council meeting. Those are meetings where I was the only council member that pushed back against the developer, asking them, how in the world can you base your traffic study and your transportation study that's going to negatively impact the people of District 2 if you don't have a plan for job creation? They never had any kind of economic development plan, nor were they marketing the Naval Weapons Station to anyone. Quite frankly, I had to go down to Silicon Valley. I had to go to San Francisco. I pushed back on that on December 9th and said, you cannot have a transportation plan based on wishes and hopes of 40,000 jobs. Let's go to June 6th, 2018, when I pushed back again about all of the planning, the lack of green space, the lack of economic development, the question about why the density had been increased around the BART station. And then we get to August 22nd, 2018, when I implored my council colleagues to make the developer go back and redo the draft specific plan, because I did not think that it was done. And I did not think that it was keeping with the wishes that had been articulated by the people of District 2 over and over again. So I just want to be very clear on my record with that. I have been a champion for the people of District 2. I will continue to be a champion for the people of District 2. And all of those meetings are posted on the City of Concord website for any members of the public to review. Thank you.
Thank you, Hope.
Can I say something on this?
That was Carlin, actually.
Oh, sorry, Carlin, my apologies. Next is going,
Jeanette,
I'm sorry?
can I say something on this?
No, not at this time, Harmesh. You had your opportunity, because we're gonna lose our time limits on how we set everything up.
Okay.
So maybe we could, if we have time at the end, but right now we need to continue moving forward. Paul, you're next. Your views on this question, please.
Hi, thank you, Jeanette. So I would definitely support making sure that the developer has a project labor agreement. This is super important to keep jobs in Concord. So I would make sure that we keep jobs here, that they go to Concord residents first. And it's important also to have an agreement with the Central Building Trades Council. So I would support both. I think it's super important that we have a trustworthy developer and then also hold them accountable to keeping jobs here in Concord. And making sure that unions are represented and that these workers that develop the Concord Naval Weapons Station are paid well. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. All right, the next question is, earlier this year, the City Council approved to spend $687,000 this year to pay third-party consultants to continue their work to keep the Naval Weapons Station project alive. Do you favor continuing spending this money on the project? This question, you have a 1 minute to answer the question. Harmesh, you're up first.
Yeah, I think this is what I was talking about. This is the cronyism which the city promotes. They want to give this money to their own cronies. That's why they are spending this $687,000. And I wanted to add to this. Carlin was talking about what she stood for. She stood for only what the community was saying because she has the eye on the election in District 2. That's why she opposed whatever she was saying earlier. So we need to stop this inner cronism and paying their own cronies all these taxpayers' money.
All right.
May I respond to that since my name was mentioned?
At this point, to be honest, Carlin, no, we need to keep on schedule. If you don't mind, maybe at the end,
Sure.
we can bring it up if you don't mind. Thank you, Harmesh. But at this point, Carlin, as a matter of fact, you can speak on it now because you are up.
Oh, perfect. Well, thank you. Well, first of all, in December of 2017, the meeting that I just referenced, we did not have our districts drawn. So I just want to be very clear, and I'm sorry if Dr. Kumar feels differently, but I am clear in my motivations of supporting the entire the people of Concord, protecting them from a developer that did not have our city's best interests and hearts, including the people of District 2. And I have a strong proven track record of doing so. And in terms of the consultant fees, I'm not quite sure those fees are being spent where Dr. Kumar is getting his response, but those fees, we're having to spend money on fish and wildlife permits and other permitting that the Navy expects us to continue to do so that they will continue to permit us to develop the land. So these are things that we have to do regardless of who the master developer is, so that we can get toward a point where we can develop the land. So this is what the spending is on to meet permitting requirements by the state and the federal government that we are required to do regardless of who the developer is. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlin. Appreciate it. Next, Paul.
Hi, thank you, Jeanette. I definitely think the $687,000 for third-party consultants on the Naval Weapons Station project is excessive. It sounds like a very expensive fish and wildlife permit, $687,000. So I would definitely not approve to spend $687,000 a year annually for third-party consultants to help us with the Naval Weapons Station project. There could be a big savings right there in the city's deficit. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Hope, you're next, my dear.
Yes, I just want to go back and say, I think you should go and look at what Councilmember Obringer was talking about from 2017 and 2018. She's talking about advocating for the specific plan. But when it came to getting rid of Lennar, she spent all of 2019 trying to keep Lennar here. So I urge you to go back and look at that, because had I been a council member, I would have taken that opportunity to get rid of Lennar right away. Once they couldn't do the project labor agreement with the trades, we shouldn't have messed around and waited for them to do it, or didn't had meetings in private. We should not have tried to keep Lennar here. And her record is clear. She formed an ad hoc committee specifically for that purpose. So don't be fooled. These And then these fees are very important. Yes, it seems like a lot of money, but get used to it. The Naval Weapons Station is a $6 billion project, and you have to make sure that you allocate funds where they are needed. And Councilmember Bringer is correct. Many of these things are things that the Navy expects us to spend so that they'll continue to work with us. But even more importantly than that, and what's very important to me and why I want to be on the council, is many of these fees are making sure that we clean the toxic substances. And that is what they are used for. And we've got to make sure that it gets cleaned up. So yes, we need these.
Thank you, Hope. Appreciate it. Okay, the last and final question for my segment is the following. This also is a 1-minute response. And the question is, excuse me?
Did they
All
all
right.
answer? Yes, okay, thank you.
Okay, so the question is, Hillsborough Drive and Olivera Road are used as a cut through for traffic from 242 to Highway 4. Would you attempt to widen Port Chicago Highway when the Concord Naval Weapons Station project begins? Will you require widening the PCH in the RFP for the Concord Naval Weapons Station? This question, Carlin, is yours. You are the first one.
Thank you for the question. Well, my big concern with that in terms of widening is I know that there are people whose homes are right there along Port Chicago, and I have not talked with anyone. I do, so I don't want to take their property unnecessarily. What I will say is that traffic mitigation is desperately needed at that part of the Naval Weapons Station development. That is where the densest part of the development is envisioned because of the North Concord BART station being there. And so if I'm permitted to continue to serve the people of District 2 on the Concord City Council, I'm going to insist that the developer put together, all of the developer candidates put together a plan to address that part of the development, including Port Chicago Highway first, as opposed to addressing other areas like Willow Pass Road, because the previous developer refused to listen and didn't even have any kind of plan for that. And so before we turn dirt, we need to have a mitigation plan for the traffic.
Okay, thank you, Carlin. Appreciate it. Paul?
I definitely think that that part of Port Chicago Highway should be and could be widened. I would definitely look out for the Sun Terrace community and make sure that that construction doesn't interfere with the community at all. But I used to live in Pittsburgh before I lived in Concord, and that part of Highway 4 to the 242 very much backs up for Pittsburgh, Antioch, Brentwood, creates a lot of traffic, a lot of pollution right there. So widening it, I think, would be a great idea and would be our opportunity to lessen traffic here in the Bay, which is one of our biggest problems. So I would protect the Sun Terrace community and look out for the Holbrook Heights community and making sure that we do this in a clean, responsible way that doesn't negatively impact any of the home values in that area. Thank you, Jeanette.
Thank you. Well, thank you, candidates, for answering my questions. The next set of questions will be narrated by Susan.
I didn't get to answer this one.
Oh my God, my apologies, Hope.
I didn't
Please
get to answer this too.
forgive me. Oh my
Okay.
God,
Who's
I've
next?
lost
Is it
my
me
mind.
Me or Kumar, Dr. Kumar?
Yeah, so please go ahead, Hope.
So this is my neighborhood, and I definitely do not support widening Port Chicago Highway. If it should take away any of the houses, it would be very difficult because the BART tracks are right up against there. I have been talking about this since I first came back to Concord in 2015, while everybody else that's on this panel was either not here or sort of remained silent about it. And we need to have roadways. Originally, they had wanted all of the exits to come up out of Port Chicago instead of going through to Bailey Road, because again, they were protecting that side of Concord. And one of our residents in Holbrook Heights had to bring up, hey, we can't do this. And so one of the things that happened that made this sort of a crisis situation is that Lennar had offered $15 million. The developers can offer infrastructure, money for infrastructure that's not part of the weapons station. And Lennar had offered 15 million, and the other developer that council selected, I didn't necessarily select them, but those were the two that were remaining. They had offered $65 million for just this kind of a project. And they rejected that, a $50 million difference. And you know what that means? That means that people that live in Concord end up having to pay it through their taxes. So rather than just widening Port Chicago, I'd like to see us focus on better public transportation so that the traffic gets mitigated and people don't lose their homes, and that we can put roadways through places like, if we can work with the Coast Guard property, roadways that plan to go all the way through right away so that we don't have to have people lose their homes.
Hope, thank you, appreciate it. And again, I apologize for the confusion on my part. Harmesh?
Yes, I think what Hope is saying, I agree with her, but I will add one thing so that we could finish it on time. Tim Carr wrote that article, and he did put the plan to have that road going from Port Chicago to Willow Pass. And I think that road could go, four-way lane could go all the way to Bailey Road and all the way to Kirker Pass Road. We have that empty land, and it could be developed a four-lane corridor so that we could have less impact of the daily traffic on the Port Chicago, on Willow Pass, on the other arteries we have in the city of Concord, so that we don't inhale all the toxic fumes from all the cars going through us. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, candidates, I apologize for the confusion. The next narrator for the next set of questions is Susan.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much. So the next set of questions is going to be about the police department. So the first question, you each will have 2 minutes to answer. What is your understanding of defund the police, and what should the city do about this topic? And we start with Paul.
Thank you, Susan. Well, first of all, I think the Concord Police are doing an excellent job keeping our community safe. They currently are taking up 57% of the community's budget, the city's budget, which I do feel is a little bit excessive. In the short term, I think just keeping spending for the police department the same is the best solution, but enticing more citizens to come live here in Concord and enticing industries to come to Concord so that we have more revenue, so that it's not such a big part of our city's budget. Over 50% of our city's budget going to the police currently is just not healthy. There's other things like homelessness, mental health, that I'd like to see that we spend more of our city's budget on. But for now, I think keeping it the same would be the healthiest solution in the short term, and not cutting any of our police spending currently, but increasing our citizenship and increasing industry in Concord. Thank you.
Okay, Hope.
So the police budget has been something that I've talked to the council about publicly for many years. And it takes up a significant portion of the general fund, even though we don't have enough of the fund to fund other services. And I think that we need to have an audit so that we can find out which services that the police are currently doing, like coming out and responding to homeless or mental health crisis calls, that we could have solved better with social services or other departments. And I've been saying this for a long time, and now you're going to hear the council members chase after what I've been saying. And it was poo-pooed and rejected. I was even mocked for it. And you know, when you if you start to solve some of the homeless problems with social services, you're not throwing money into a black hole. Criminalizing some public safety is not the way to go. In 2016, we had Councilmember Obringer run as the only candidate that was endorsed by the POA, and she made comments like the homeless people were choosing to live on the streets, and that causes a situation where it makes people fearful. It's a stereotype, and we could as council members, I would not perpetuate those stereotypes. I would try to work with the police to find out what is the data that we are missing, to find out where those funds could be more effectively used. And you can see that now a lot of people across the country are all on board with this idea that I've been proposing for many years, and they've been rejecting and actively saying that it couldn't be done without even trying. We still don't have the data that we need after all of these years of them saying they might get it. So I don't know that defund the police is the right way for everybody to think about it, because it's so vague and some people want it to be vague. I've been very specific. We need to look at where we are putting our budget and if it is effective, and is there a better way, and is there a way to not criminalize things that just make them cyclical and are not solutions. I want leadership. We can't wait for other people to do it. We should take control of it. We see a way and we can find a way. We can look at the data. Public safety encompasses way more than just police arresting somebody or criminalizing behavior. There are communities that have been underserved, that have been left out of the discussion of what is public safety. And I want to bring that voice to the council. I want a chance not to be poo-pooed, but to have a discussion. We could have been way ahead of the game if they had taken the lead, the council that's on there and the council that was on there in 2015 when I started talking about this. And I think I can do that. And I hope you'll let me try, because they've already had to cut some of the police budget with the pension costs. It's already having to be done. We don't need to do it in a crisis situation. We could do this reasonably and effectively, and it doesn't have to be done in a rush. But now you're going to see them having to do it in a rush. But that's not necessary. You put the right people on there who have the political will to do it correctly and in conjunction with the police and underserved communities, and we can get this done, and it'll work for everybody, and we'll solve some of these problems.
Thank you.
Okay, Harmish?
Yeah, I think from all the candidates on the forum right now, I'm the only qualified person who could solve this problem, because I have 37-year experience in the mental health field, and I work in the prison system, California prison system, and we do work with very difficult population there. Sometimes we have to extract the inmates from their cell, those who are mentally ill, and we have a very specific use of controlled use of force procedures there through we extract those inmates from their cell. And I have been saying this before Hope came on the scene. Last time when I ran, the police union and then the current city council member who were the police officer in Concord, Mr. Carlson, and the former mayor, Guy Bezerki, now the city manager, they bent after me. They sent the email to every citizen of Concord saying that I want to convert the Concord police station into mental health asylum case. They were calling me that I'm loony. I'm talking about all these loony issues. And now they all are talking about the same thing, what I started 28 years ago. I'm not new to this. So I will reallocate those funding where it needs to go. Last time in the mental health forum, a county and the city created 2 weeks ago, the police chief said that 17% of the call comes from homelessness issues. And I will take that 17% of the funding from the police department and put it into the homelessness and mental health task force. And I could provide 160 homeless people a very good services. Today, the Fremont city has started a navigation center. What's the problem with us? Why can't we start a navigation center for the homeless? We need a person with the willpower, and I do have that willpower. I do have skills. I do have the experience to do that. So I'll do that. Thank you.
Carlin?
Thank you. I know that the question was about policing. I do want to share, I know Dr. Kumar mentioned a navigation center. The city of Concord is one of only 2 cities in all of Contra Costa County, and there are 19 cities that in non-COVID times has a full service homeless shelter as well as a care center. So I just wanted to let the public know that. When I hear the term defunding the police, I hear that as meaning the need to reduce the outsized role that law enforcement has been asked to assume as the default responder for incidents of all kinds, and delegating those responsibilities instead to unarmed social workers and other behavioral health specialists. And when I talk with members of the police department, they would prefer that a professional, mental health professional, went out and addressed many of these calls. And my city council colleagues and I have started a community conversation around what reimagining policing could look like. We held a council study session on policing on July 15th, a community town hall on mental health and homelessness on August 12th. And just this coming Thursday, September 3rd, we're going to be participating in a county-wide meeting that's open to the public to learn about a new program being developed so that there will be a 24/7 response unit available to address mental health calls for service. And I know I'm going to be looking at how the city of Concord can set up something like that just for our city. Now, we do have a new police chief, Chief Mark Bustillos, the first bilingual police chief we've ever had in English and Spanish. And this is a great opportunity to reset and rethink our police department's community engagement and acknowledge we need to think about reallocating public resources. So I look forward to reimagining policing with an emphasis on deploying social workers and mental health professionals to call for service that don't need police officers. I've had many in-depth conversations with our African-American neighbors here in Concord about their lived experience with the Concord Police Department to help inform my policymaking. I'm going to be proposing when the council comes back next week at our meeting that more resources be allocated to our core team. They go out and work with unsheltered individuals to try to bring them into services. Right now they have about 20 hours. We need to increase those. And I'm also going to be proposing a community advisory body to serve as a liaison between the community, the city government, and the police department to encourage better communication, transparency, accountability. For example, that's a body that could take a look at the police budget, and we could hold a public hearing and find out why are the police officers asking for new SUVs and have that conversation. So I'm looking forward to continuing this transition and reimagining policing in a more effective way.
Thank you very much. So our next question is basically kind of a yes and no, but we are going to give you 30 seconds so you can say a little bit. Would you vote for a police or civic substation to be located in this district? And we will start with Hope.
I'm assuming that you mean the substations. I just want to make sure I understand the question, that similar to what they may have had before.
Correct. Correct.
So it depends on, we need to look around and see what is needed, if that's still the right solution. If it is, we may need one, perhaps where it was before at Hillcrest, to sort of.
It was over on Sloan.
Yeah, in the hill, down at the bottom in Hillcrest. But I think we need to relook at the budget, because the council, the current council, they're, you know, a lot of the ideas that Councilmember Obringer just took credit for were brought by people who are supporting my campaign and urging them to have these meetings, because the council refused to do it. So we need to really get in there and have somebody look at the data who wasn't biased towards the police, because we need people who have, you know, are going to look at it from the perspective that that is what they have in mind. And this idea that the people who created the problem can solve it is not adequate. You need people who wanted to solve it and who had the idea.
Okay. All right. Harmish?
I agree with Hope that we need to look at the what is the problem there and how we could solve it adequately. And what Einstein said long time ago, that if you are doing the same thing and asking for different results, they don't come. You need to change your tactics. You need to be a little bit more creative and innovative. Safety doesn't come from outside. Safety comes from within. So I would look into this and work with the police department and see what data says and what the neighborhood says. And neighborhood, I have been part of this neighborhood for almost 28 years. And I know what the neighborhood wants. And I have talked to people more than just the city council member said that she's talking to them right now, but I have been talking to them for 28 years. I live in this area. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we have Paul. No, I'm sorry, Carlin. Carlin's next.
Thank you. Well, I do spend quite a bit of time in the Solano Plaza Hillcrest neighborhood. I love to have lunch at Carnes Jalisco, and I participate regularly in non-COVID times in community cleanups. And so that gives me the opportunity to speak with the residents of the Hillcrest area. And I have heard over and over and over again that the community is looking for a return of the police substation. And so I have been actively looking for some new real estate that's available. Now, right now, most of the Solano Plaza shopping center is leased. I was also taking a look at Olivera Crossings, and there is some transition that's happening. Some of our businesses during COVID, we're doing everything we can to support them, but some are struggling. But I will continue to look at that. I know that there is a second vote on the city council to support police substations in District 2 as well as in another district. And so all I need to do is to find a third vote. And the good news is that I am endorsed by every single member of the city council. So they want me back as part of the team. And I look forward to finding that third vote to hopefully establish a police substation where it once was before. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul?
Thank you, Susan. I've been lucky enough to live in 2 districts in Concord in the past 3 years. So I used to live in District 5 and now I'm in District 2. And the response time here in District 2 is definitely longer than it was in the last district that I lived in. So I definitely would agree with having a police civic substation here in District 2. We have a need for it. We have a BART station. We're close to downtown. There's an airport, and now we're developing the Naval Weapons Station. So there's a need for a substation here in District 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next section, the questions are going to be about Black Lives Matter. There are 3 questions. I'm going to ask all 3 questions at once, and then you get 2 minutes to answer the cumulative kind of what the topic is. Okay, so listen to the 3 questions, and we're going to start with Harmesh when we get through the questions. Okay. Number 1, do you believe that people should be allowed to chalk Black Lives Matter on the sidewalk? Oh, well, actually, there was an incident in our district where chalking of Black Lives Matter on the sidewalk was erased. So because of that, do you believe that people should be allowed to chalk Black Lives Matter on the sidewalk? What did you do, if you did anything in regard to that incident? And do you have any thoughts on how to promote racial equality in Concord? I know this is a big question, but we are kind of limited on time, so try for 2 minutes. Okay, Harmesh, you're first.
Yeah, I have put the statement on my website that I do support Black Lives Matter. I do know the implicit bias the institutions have, and I know sometimes, I want to give you this example. I talked to our current mayor 3-4 years ago. I asked him, and most of you know, I started the Spring Festival, Diversity Festival in downtown Concord. And I have all these diverse group of people who perform at my festival. So one day he was part of the July 4th celebration. So I asked him, I said, Tim, can we have a diversity kind of variety program on the July 4th in the evening at the Mount Diablo School? And he asked me, he responded, he said, Dr. Kumar, but July 4th is an American holiday. So he was not even aware of it, that he's telling me something which is hidden and implicit, that it is only for white people. That's what the implication he had. And July 4th is not a white people's holiday, it's every American holiday. So these are the implicit biases I see in the city. For 100+ years, not even a single colored person has been on the city council. We don't have a different perspective. We are bringing the same, I will quote Einstein again. If you're going to do the same thing and want different results, you won't find them. So I support all the brothers and sisters from Black Lives Matters. And I support if somebody want to express themselves on the sidewalk in front of their home, there is nothing wrong with that. And we shouldn't hinder that. We should promote the equality and equal justice for everybody, no matter where, what color they have, what race they have, what region they come from, what language they speak, what food they put, what color of clothes they wear. You know, we should have equal rights for everybody. That's what America stands for, and I'm planning to do that.
Thank you. Carlin?
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to share with you that I was deeply concerned about the chalk art incident. The Sherrick family, they were trying to teach the granddaughter that Black Lives Matter, and it was a very traumatic experience for them to have the Black Lives Matter poured over with water on multiple occasions. And when I received the news that this had happened, I did reach out to the family, had in-depth conversations with them. They expressed other concerns about issues that they had experienced, and I worked to connect them with the chief of police so that they could discuss it further. I also followed up. I have not heard back, but I respect their privacy and let them know that I support them, as does the entire city council. In terms of what you're talking about here, it's important to me that minority communities here can trust the police, that people feel that Black Lives Matter, and to that end, I welcomed on my social media and attended the peaceful Black Lives Matter protest that was held in Tildes Santos Plaza on June 6th. I also participated in a peaceful march that happened shortly thereafter to end systemic racism. And we marched from the school district administrative office down to the Civic Center on July 11th. I also made sure that we held a community conversation on policing on July 15th. I was actively listening to the concerns of the public, encouraging the mayor to hold a town hall, which he did hold, so that the community could have their voices heard, and the county can, work with partners, or the city can work with county partners to reimagining what policing looks like. I also think it's important to take a look at things like our city's boards and commissions and make sure that the members represent the rich diversity of our city. And so I was proud, for example, to appoint the first Asian American to the City of Concord Planning Commission in 2019. And I also want to share with you, as I've been having these community conversations with African American Concordians, things have come to light about people being followed when they're trying to shop in stores. And so I've had a conversation with the Chamber of Commerce, and they're going to be organizing some trainings around systemic bias and customer service based on some of that feedback that I've received. And the last thing I want to share about the 4th of July, I'm proud to chair the Concord 4th of July parade. And one of the reasons I love it so much is that it is a true reflection of the diversity of the Concord community, where we welcome all groups. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Paul.
Thank you. Well, I definitely believe that neighbors should be able to chalk Black Lives Matter. I would go as far as to say that we should be able to paint this somewhere downtown if we wanted to. Black Lives Matter is super important right now, and I absolutely believe in diversity. So my spouse is Hispanic and we speak Spanish in our home. I definitely think diversity and representation on city council is important, and making sure that our Black and brown voices in Concord are heard. 30% of Concord is Latino, about 5% is Black, And when somebody erases a chalk on the sidewalk that says Black Lives Matter, when a neighbor does that to another neighbor, the entire neighborhood should come together and make sure that that neighbor feels comfortable. So I'm sad that that happened here in Concord. I think we need to create awareness. We need to have more diversity in our community and represented on city council. So I definitely think racial equality is important in Concord, and we need more training for our police department. I'm super excited that Mark Bastillo is Spanish speaking. I think that's a huge plus for Concord. I can't wait to meet him and continue this movement in making diversity important in Concord.
Thank you. Oh,
So the chalk incident happened a few blocks down the street from my home. And I reached out to the family and said that there are many people in the neighborhood that are near you now that support you. And if you need anything, you should contact us. I was very sad that that would happen, and I was kind of surprised. I do think that if you want to chalk, some people chalked my driveway, and I think that if you want to chalk your space in front of your home, you should be allowed to. I was approached by some grassroots organizations because of the council's poor track record on just this issue, diversity of color, diversity of income. And I am right now disgusted by the picture that was painted by Council Member Obringer, because I have been at those council meetings until midnight trying to get them to put a Latino community member on a board or somebody from the monument on a board. And they refused to do it. We had 2 Latino people who applied for the CAC who had run for city council, and they didn't even interview them. And we have hardly anybody on the boards and commissions. And it is now that this has come to light that they're painting a pretty picture. But for 4 years, they're the ones that have created this lack of diversity. And as a council member, I would do everything that I had asked them to do to put people on these boards and commissions. I am currently mentoring people of color so that they too can run. And it is not enough to paint a pretty picture 4 years after you've been able, when you had a vote and you didn't use it. And we need leadership, somebody who is willing to vote, to put diversity, to look at what kind of diversity that we need, and not have it be something that you do when you want to get elected or when the whole world is finally watching you. We need that now. And I have advocated for that, and I have the political will to do it. And I've been standing up there by myself, trying to get them to put on boards and commissions during the moment they could have voted for it. And my leadership would be one that votes for it, that puts them on there when you need it, when you have the chance to vote for it, not after everybody's watching you. And that there are many other things. The police budget is something that doesn't respect the diversity of the city, that we leave a lot of the communities that are underserved out of the public safety discussion. And that needs to be taken into account right away. And when you have the vote and you've had 4 years to use it, you should use it. You shouldn't wait until everybody's watching you.
thank you, Hope. Okay, Carly, we'll let you respond at the end when you have the 2.5 minutes. Is that be okay with you?
Oh, sure, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. All right, the next section is about BART, and Tim is going to be asking the questions.
One of my favorite subjects. Okay. BART is allowed by law and is planning to develop on their property a transit-oriented village, which is instead of a parking lot, they're going to have buildings, big giant parking garage, office complex, apartments, those types of things. This is adjacent to the East Sun Terrace homes on Dunbarton. They butt right up against it. Will you support the proposed land swap as discussed in the April 2018 issue of the Diablo Gazette, which moves the BART property line 200 feet to the east and gives a green space or height restricted area between the homes in East Sun Terrace and the new BART building complex? And Carlin is to start this, and she has 2 minutes.
Great. Well, I am so glad that you asked about that transit-oriented development because I have news hot off the press.
Oh,
I
cool.
spoke with BART director Mark Foley, with whom I have an excellent relationship. And you might remember I invited him to the most recent Sun Terrace neighborhood meeting that took place in December of 2019. So he has heard the concerns that I have expressed and the concerns that the people of District 2 have expressed about BART moving forward without listening to the community about height restrictions, without listening to green space. And he has told me as of this afternoon that BART, while they have selected a master developer for that site, Brookfield, that's the 18 acres around the BART station, they are not going to be moving forward with any development until Concord selects our new master developer, and then they are going to work in partnership with us. So I thought that that was good news that everyone would want to hear, and that we have a good relationship with the BART director, and that BART is respecting the wishes of the people of District 2. And any kind of proposal that is going to enable there to be more green space and also ensure that there is a gentle density, as well as, you know, I know some of the neighbors of East Sun Terrace have come out and said, you know, I enjoy sitting in my hot tub, and I'm still going to sit out there no matter what kind of building you build and how close it is. And so I think that we're going to be able to work with BART so that they respect the wishes for more green space, as well as more respectful density. And Tim, if your proposal that you're referring to enables us to get to that, then I would be supportive. Thank you.
Okay, next person is, is it Harmish?
It's Paul.
Oh,
Hey, Tim.
sorry. Punch
Yeah.
button here.
I definitely think your idea of this land swap is a great one. So it gives more green space in between Sun Terrace and the BART community that's going to be built. So I think it's a great idea. I like the idea. I think it's creative. Anything that promotes more green space and more privacy for the Sun Terrace community, I'm a big fan of. So I think it's a great idea. Thank you.
Next up should be Hope.
I do think this is something that most of us agree on, that at the height of the buildings that we're going to be up against East Sun Terrace would be pretty detrimental to the owners of the homes that are right there. The land swap it's a great idea. It will be very complicated to accomplish because the Navy is currently having to look for fire retardant that the firemen use, and that some of that land is probably caught up in that. But if it's something that we could do that would help the homeowners that are there on East Sun Terrace and still maintain our ability to have affordable housing, I think that we should do that. I am going to go back again and tell the people in District 2 that BART is not holding on to not building its transit-oriented development because of District 2. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and BART only has like 1/10 of its ridership. It can barely afford to pay itself. So it's holding off on some of these projects, but I urge you to be vigilant. And that's the voice that we need on the council. I know it sounds like everybody is working in conjunction with each other, but I'm going to remind people of District 2 and the voters that that was not the case when it was actually moving forward and there wasn't a pandemic. And I was one of the people pushing back. I had Tim Grayson's chief of staff yell at me because I was defending the people who didn't want those big walls up against their existing situation, and Bart was not listening. So this idea that everybody is going to work together, I really think that you have to think that through. We need to negotiate. We need people to negotiate for District 2. When they work together, they like to work with each other and they endorse each other because they agree with each other and ignore a lot of the things that go on. On this particular topic, I do believe that all of us here that are running agree. I do believe that. But Bart did not behave that way. And we need somebody who's willing to stand up to that on the city council, or willing to make an argument, somebody who knows how these developments work. I spoke to Mr. Carr when he brought this up and said that it would be difficult to get them to do it. And indeed, in the long run, though people listened to him, Guy Bjorky explained to him that's not going to happen. And that is not negotiating with the people of District 2. And that's what I would do on the council. I would be a negotiator, not just somebody who's going to say, I'm going to get along with a company or a BART or an entity or anybody else who didn't do it before. We need a watchdog on there and someone that will negotiate with people. It's very important. On this issue, I do believe, though, that we all agree that that needs to be done.
Okay, Harmish is next.
Yeah, I think, Tim, we did talk about this issue quite at length, and I agree with the Hope, whatever she said. And we all agree on this. There has to be some land swap. I used to live on Dumbarton Street. My first home I bought was on Dumbarton Street, and I did see all the noise from the parking lot and all the other things which come with it. But we do need, and some of these agencies, they function as if they are the dictators. They don't like to collaborate with each other, and especially the BARD. They think they own the whole world. And they don't give a damn unless somebody knows somebody in the board. And we need to have people's first agenda, not the board of director agenda. And that's where I will stand, and I will fight for the District 2 residents, and I will make sure that they get their voice heard and make sure that they are on the table and they are involved in the decision-making process. And I'll fight for that. That's why I'm running. I'm from the district, as I said. I have been here for 28 years. Many people wish that I will be gone by now, but I'm still standing here, more stronger than before. So I will fight for every resident in District 2. Thank you.
Okay, so the next question is 2 minutes. It's pretty much a continuation of what we're talking about here. Will you support the BART's building of 5 or more story buildings and on their property? And if not, how would you stop them? And this is a question to Paul. You might not try and stop them at all. I don't know.
Thanks, Tim. Well, I definitely have friends in the Sun Terrace community, and I know that over 5 stories would be very much annoying to them and to their privacy. So I think there should be a 5-story cap. 3 to 5 stories is adequate. I think we can do a lot with that height. But anything higher, I think, would be annoying to the Sun Terrace community and really invade their privacy and kind of their view towards the back area, the green space there. So great question, and a 5-story cap is what I would propose. Thank you.
Okay. Hope is up next.
So this is a little bit of a complicated question to answer right now because we're not sure how developers are going to react after the pandemic. There's been quite a bit of change that's going on. So I'm just going to try to, my point is, we are going to have to assess what kind, because the buildings that sit on the BART property, they have to be rented. They cannot be purchased. So everything that's on there is not going to be a homeowner opportunity, whether it's a condo or apartment, it's all going to be for rent. So what will that look like after the pandemic? What are people going to want? The second thing that I think we should need to look at is that when you say 5 stories or more, if it starts out at 5 stories, you know, the state has rules about density, and if there's a certain level of a density, they can build higher than certain level of stories. So we would definitely want to make sure that all of these are set back. There is a setback rules about how far it has to be back, and they have to have the height can't just suddenly rise to 5 stories. It has to level as it goes away from the existing homes. So we want to make sure that wherever the higher, denser buildings are, that it doesn't interfere with the existing homes. If there's plenty of room there for this to go on. How you would stop them is that's very, you know, very complicated. Should BART be agreeable and they are going to work with us with a specific plan? We were also told about the U.S. Coast Guard, by the way, and that is not happening. The Coast Guard is not even selling the property to Concord at this time. So you can't really guarantee it. But it's definitely going to come up as an issue, and ultimately it's going to take a little bit of time for us to know what the developer that they select is going to propose, because we don't know what they're going to think is going to be marketable at the time. So I personally don't want any sort of situation where these buildings interfere with the homes that are there. And there's so much property there that I feel like we can really develop and negotiate a solution where we have the affordable housing that we need, that we want on there, that's affordable to mid and to low income housing. There's so much property that we can make this work. And it is going to require, though, some reanalysis based on what happens once the developers get back into planning.
Harmish, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, there you are.
Yeah, I do agree with the hope that this is a very complicated issue. But I would like the BART, because as I said, they are acting like a dictatorship rather than as a participatory democratic institution. What I will want from the BART is that they should sell those condos and those townhomes to individual people so that they could take care of them. And they want money, they will get the money for that. And they could put that money into trust for long-term use. So once we have the ownership there and people will keep those buildings in right shape, when we are putting a renter there, sometimes things don't go the way, and sometimes the eviction happen, what is happening right now in the COVID-19 era, and people are not able to afford the rents they are going to ask for because it's on the transit village. So we really need to see what is in the best interest of the people rather than in the best interest of the BART's board of directors and their agenda. We need to work for the community, not for the organization. So that's what I would do if I'm elected to the city council, that I'll get people involved and I'll do the participatory decision making with them. Thank you.
Okay. Carlin.
Thank you. So first of all, I do want to clarify that even though we are in the middle of COVID, BART is developing projects in other parts of the system, including in the city of Berkeley. When it comes to whether or not to permit this 5 stories, I think that we have to look at the plans and see what those look like. And I would approach this, having served on the City of Concord Planning Commission and sharing it, 5 years service, taking a look. Many times we had projects, infill development, where we were trying to add taller homes and into dense development next to a low density neighborhood. In fact, on many occasions, what we ended up doing was reorienting where the windows were, or taking a look to see what the shadow casting would look like if it was going to create an issue, say, for someone's solar panels. So you take a look at those things through the planning process. And also, as I've mentioned before, I think it's important to have that gentle density and a good transition between the existing neighborhood, which is mostly 1-story homes with large lots. You want to have a nice transition to then the denser development. And so that is something that we will have to work in partnership with BART on. And again, when I spoke with Director Foley today, he told me that BART was fully committed to providing us with any plans once they had them. However, they are still just in the process of signing an exclusive negotiating agreement with Brookfield. So there are certainly no plans in place yet, and they are waiting for the City of Concord to select our next master developer before they move forward. Thank you.
Okay. The next question I think is redundant. We've already pretty much asked about Port Chicago Highway being a single lane road. Does anybody have anything more to say about it? I think we've already discussed it, so I think we just skip on to the next question here, which is Jeanette. Take over.
Thank you. Okay, candidates, we have 3 questions. Each of you will have 2 minutes for each question. But
Unfortunately, we only have 10 minutes till sum up, so we only get quick time.
okay, so what I think would work is I'll state the 3 questions, and each candidate can answer within their 2-minute allotment. So we can get those out of the way. The first question is, and this is going to be addressed to Harmash, what is your emphasis on spending for the economic development? The next question is, what is your plan to improve existing strip malls and shopping centers? And the final one is, do you support having cannabis dispensaries, stores in the district, and where?
I did not hear the first question you said.
I'll repeat it to you. I'll repeat it to you, Harmash. What is your emphasis on spending for economic development?
Okay, good. You know, we do need spending on the economic development because that's where the money comes. And we do need to create some kind of avenue so that we could recruit people who bring better jobs and high-paying jobs to the city of Concord. And I do want to spend more money into economic development. And the second question is existing strip mall. I don't know what is going to happen to these strip malls now with this COVID-19 pandemic and what is happening to our economies. And people are so scared with the system we have to go to these large gathering places. And malls are not going to be the same malls anymore. It's only the Amazon who is going to sweep all the billions of dollars from public, and all the Walmarts of the world, all the Costco's of the world. They are going to gather more and more money from ordinary people rather than, you know, these malls. So we need to rethink how maybe we need to go like what Dublin has gone through, that they develop residential space on the top, on the second story or third story, and on the ground floor they have the shopping complex. And maybe we need to look into some of those developments, what is going to be good for people so that they don't have to drive for shopping and for getting their daily needs met. The cannabis, my first job in 1983 was studying the cannabis users and studying them psychologically, emotionally, and physically, how it impacts their day-to-day life. And I still believe that cannabis use in the pain situation is very appropriate, but cannabis use for recreational purposes is very dangerous for human health. I know it from the experience. I know
Okay.
how their memory get messed up. So I would support at some place. I don't know where to find the place until I get into the system. Only then I will realize that this space is available. I have no clue at this time where this space is.
Thank you, Harmesh. The next one up is Carlin.
Thank you. So as a city council member and as your past mayor, I have worked very hard on economic development over the past nearly 4 years. I've worked hard to retain and attract living wage jobs so Concordians can both live and work here, spend quality time with their family, volunteer. And I believe in that a city council member should be an active member of the economic development team, serving as an ambassador for the city. And that's exactly what I've done. And, you know, I look for economic development opportunity in every situation. So one example, when the city of Concord, when we voted to transition from PG&E to MCE for our energy, I insisted that MCE open an office in the city of Concord, which they did at One Concord Center, because I said to them, look, we're going to be your biggest market and you need to open an office here and create some jobs here in the Concord community. I work to create, to attract and retain jobs big and small. For example, I was involved in the recruitment of new businesses to the veranda, including Residual Sugar and the coffee shop at the veranda, because I wanted a wine bar for Concord. I wanted an independent coffee shop for Concord. I've also supported the expansion of Concord businesses, including Asset Mark, Cirrus Corporation, Harrison Associates, Pulse Systems, Sun Valley Shopping Center, by going on multiple goodwill visits with these companies that have living wage jobs and are expanding. I've traveled to San Jose to meet with the executive director of the Silicon Leadership Group to get Concord and the redevelopment of the former Concord Naval Weapons Station on his radar. I've convened meetings with the Bay Area Council to discuss opportunities to highlight Concord throughout the region. And we recently rezoned land in North Concord, as I've already mentioned, for 150 new living wage jobs, because light industrial, that is where a new wave of jobs is. Also, I'm working to grow the cannabis industry in a responsible way that will create new living wage jobs and also a new revenue stream for the city of Concord. I've been working with a group called the Diablo Valley Tech Initiative to help foster economic and social growth for startups, entrepreneurs, leaders, and educators. And as a member and past chair of Concord's Housing and Economic Development Committee, I oversaw a complete overhaul that we just finished last year of the city's economic development marketing plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next one is Paul.
Thank you, Jeanette. Do I think there should be an emphasis on spending for economic development? I do not think there should be an emphasis on spending for economic development. I do think we should have tax breaks for businesses to attract more businesses to Concord, and easing zoning restrictions to make it easier for them to move their businesses here. As far as improving strip malls and shopping centers, I think there should be rent caps and tax breaks for businesses in those strip malls. There's a lot of empty locations inside of all of our strip malls in Concord. I would like to see it full with tenancy and help them out with rent caps and tax breaks. And I think that we should bring retail to downtown in the style of Todos Santos Plaza. So we need a retail shopping area downtown to attract both citizens and tourists here to Concord. We have a lot of banks and restaurants downtown, but not a lot of retail. I think there should be a retail district so we can integrate and help support some of those restaurants and banks with a retail shopping area. I've spent over 20 years in the retail industry. I know how to make that work. And as far as supporting cannabis dispensaries, yes, I think we should have cannabis dispensaries in a responsible, clean, and limited way. We should have them in Concord and grow business here in Concord. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Hope?
Yeah, I'm going to put these in reverse order. The cannabis dispensary store, I supported having a cannabis dispensary store. I think that they should not be in just one area. They should be in multiple throughout the city. There's plenty in other cities where you can go and look and see that they're safe. Concord City Council's discussion on this was like we were in 1950. And that's going to relate to something I'm going to say about our economic development. The cannabis dispensary showed how far behind Concord is in its leadership. They were talking about medical marijuana that we talked about in 1990, and we had to go through hours and hours of educating them, which on something they should have been educated on already. I agreed with Chief Swanger, our police chief before, and we didn't agree on a lot of stuff, but these stores should be in high traffic areas. That's what makes them safe. They're very safe anyway, but high traffic areas, the council wanted to push them out into the industrial areas of just District 2 and District 3, and even Chief Swanger agreed with me that it would not be a good idea. The reason I say that relates is that the strip malls in Concord aren't doing well because Concord is large in area. And so all of our strip malls and our retail is way spread out and we have way too much of it. So now people want to go into one location where they can go and shop at retail. And so that's going to drive, we're going to have to drive some of that from putting them in closer together, and the strip malls may go by the wayside and we can build affordable housing that we need. I think that we do need to spend on economic development, but it's not just the spending. Whatever it is that the council has done to attract economic development, it hasn't been that great except for in the light industrial, which is out here in District 2 by my home. And so I think that part of what happens is that our economic development, the people who might come out here, the businesses, they look and they see that we're kind of behind. They see our discussion on cannabis and see that it's not very innovative, that it's kind of obsolete and mediocre. And I think we need a progressive voice on the council that has these ideas, that has seen other things happen, that doesn't go back to 1950 discussions, so they can see we are innovative. We do want to try new things. And that is something that we can do without spending a lot more than we already are. Thank you.
Thank you, Hope. Thank you again, candidates, for your responses to those questions. The next narrator is Susan.
We're actually going to go to Tim for the closing.
Yes, this is, we've run out of time. It's been wonderful to listen to all you people. So what we're going to do is give you, let's see here, we got 6 minutes left.
Oh, let's give them a couple extra minutes. We told them we told them they could have 2.5 minutes. Let's give them 2.5 minutes. That's okay. They'll only run us over about 4 minutes. That's fine.
Okay, so let's see here. Hope lost her turn, so we will let her start first. Okay.
I just did my turn and I went first last time, so let's just keep going in the round robin if that's okay.
Okay, all right, fine. Let's see then. So it would be Harmish then, right?
Yes.
Harmish, you got 2.5 minutes, buddy.
I started first. Let's go in the reverse order. Let's start with the with our current councilwoman.
Okay.
Yeah, let's give her preference.
This is what you call passing the buck here. Okay.
Great. Well, I don't ask for preference, but if you would like me to go, I'm happy to do so. So I want to say thank you to Tim, Jeanette, Susan, and Dave, who organized this event and invited us to participate. As a reminder, my name is Carlin Obringer, and I'm proud to serve the people of District 2 on the Concord City Council as your council member. And something we didn't get a chance to talk about, but as mayor, I work to build a greater sense of community, which I think is so important in these challenging times. To that end, I launched the September of Service with more than 200 volunteers participating in that initiative. And on each of the 4 Saturdays in September, Concordians were invited to join me in a beautification or cleanup event at a Concord park, including we did a park cleanup and a creek cleanup at Hillcrest Park. I've participated in multiple community cleanups in the Hillcrest neighborhood, and I've organized multiple Port Chicago path cleanups and downtown Concord cleanups because I have pride in how our community looks and how District 2 looks. And I also believe it's really critical for council members to be accessible to the people. So I'm always happy to meet with anyone. And when I was serving as mayor last year, I held mayor's office hours every Friday, or coffee or beer with the mayor to highlight a local business, brewery, coffee shop, tap room, so that your mayor could meet with you in an informal setting. I met with over 400 Concordians that way. And as we face uncertainty, Concord needs steady, proven leadership on the council. As your former mayor, vice mayor, and planning commission chair, I have the experience Concord needs to overcome the pandemic and economic downturn and emerge even stronger on the other side. And I've been involved with the community for almost 15 years, and I've served as a bridge helping hundreds of Concord residents and businesses find solutions to their challenges. In fact, just today, I was on the phone with 10 Concord residents and businesses, and even helping people figure out how to get connected, get a phone number to this event tonight. So during my time on the council, I've overseen the planning and development of more housing for Concord residents at all affordability levels, helped to create more jobs in Concord, protected the community's vision for a world-class project at the former Concord Naval Weapons Station, improved the condition of our roads and parks, including 16 projects on roads just within District 2, preserved resources for seniors and public safety, and maintained a balanced budget. I'm the person that Concordians call, message, or text when they need help or want to get something done. And people know that I have a proven track record of taking a vision, breaking it down into manageable steps, and successfully implementing it. Much remains to be done in the areas of infrastructure repair, economic revitalization, affordable housing development, and the redevelopment of the former Concord Naval Weapons Station. And I want to serve on the Concord City Council for another 4 years to continue the important work that I've done together with you, the residents of District 2. So I humbly ask for your vote on November 3rd, and I ask that you please visit www.carlinobringer.com for more information. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, well, I also want to thank Tim, Susan, Jeanette, and Dave for putting this together. I want to thank my fellow candidates. I want to thank my neighbors for all their support. And I just want to remind all of the voters that I am running because I want all voices to be heard. I want to improve our city and promote progress, and I want to support diversity here in Concord. I will be the council member that listens to you and represents you. I won't hide behind endorsements, and I won't be biased towards those that put money my way. We've had a council member already serve 4 years and make decisions that have put us back 4 years. So I want to help promote Concord moving forward. Thank you, and thank you for voting November 3rd.
Hope.
Thank you to everyone for putting on this event and to everyone who's watching. I want to let you know that I don't necessarily you don't see me out doing necessarily cosmetic things like picking up garbage. I pick up garbage when I see it. But I do work with the community, contrary to what a lot of the council members would like to have you believe. When I showed up here, I worked with the Sun Terrace neighborhood. I worked with Holbrook Heights Homeowners Association and went to their meetings, and I taught them about understanding the cleanup of the Naval Weapons Station. I taught them how to assess those developers. I wrote letters and I shared them with people about what the contents of those contracts meant. I talked about green space and how to preserve it. I showed them which entities to go to. I worked with the Concord Communities Alliance on our districts. We drew maps. We pressed to have it go in 2018, even though the council was reluctant to do it. I go to all the Navy meetings. The people on the RAB, I advised them of the things that I saw out in San Francisco, and they learned something new. I asked the Navy to come and see the Concord, the community, the CAC, the community group that oversees the specific plan, and I asked the Navy to come and speak to them, and I tried to explain to them that some of the decisions they were making would be based on this toxic cleanup, and their eyes were wide, opened wide. My involvement is I'm a collaborator with groups. I share my information. I've seen a lot of this. I know what questions to ask. I know what people need to look for. And I do work with people, and that is how I do it. And that is what I would like to do on the council. I was on the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force. I believe in transparency. I believe in holding people accountable. I have never wavered in any of the things that I have come before the council on. The police budget, tenants' rights. The things we're talking about now, if you keep electing the exact same people, you are going to get the exact same results. And we're hearing tonight that, all of these things have been done, but I'm telling you, I was there and I was advocating for that vote. And the vote is what really matters. And we need the political will to get some of these things done, because we've had these opportunities and they've slipped by us. And the result of what we're seeing now is not a collaboration with all of the communities in Concord. And that's what I'm working on now. My campaign is a collaboration with the working class people. I was endorsed by the SEIU Local 1021 because some of the people there know my work from the past, and that I work with the working class people and the Black, Brown, and Indigenous communities that have been consistently overlooked, not just for the last 4 years, but for many years before it. And I would like to bring their voice to the council, their voice to boards and commissions. I want to collaborate with the people that we haven't heard being collaborated with tonight. That's what we need in Concord to make us not two Concords when we have a Concord Naval Weapons Station development, one Concord, not one Concord for the wealthy and the privileged, but one Concord for all our communities. And I believe I have demonstrated to every single one of you, whether you like me or you dislike me as a person, that that's exactly what I have in mind, and I have never wavered from that. I ask for your vote so that my voice isn't just a 3-minute voice that you hear that later on you find out was right, that I can bring those discussions. You can go to hopejohnsonforconcord.com and you'll see that I've never wavered from this, and I want to work for the working class people and make everybody have a say in Concord. Thank you.
Thank you. Harmish, you're last.
Yes, I think first of all, again, I want to thank Susan, Jeanette, and Tim for putting this together, and also Dave. And this is very important that you took the initiative to introduce all the candidates to the community at large. And we do need, what we heard from all candidates. And I want to say that even though I don't dislike anybody, including Hope, I like Hope, I like everybody, but there are some skill set which I have, which most of you don't. As I said, being from the colored community and being the entrepreneurial, being the founder of the Hume Center to serve the underserved, being the founder of many businesses, I know how to cross the red tape. I know how to deal with those implicit biases. I know how not to kill people when they are trying to kill me or kill my business ideas because I collaborate with them. I do practical things. I'm more pragmatic, and I do deal with people on a daily basis, even those nobody want to deal with them. With the homelessness, I provided housing to people, those who are chronically mentally disabled. My daughter grew up with all those mentally ill patients because they become like my family members when I provided housing for them. I still provide housing for some of them. and I know how to relate to people. I know how to listen to people. I know how to implement those ideas they give it to me so that we could create a cohesive, as I started the Diversity Festival 17 years ago in collaboration with the Interfaith Council of Contra Costa County to bring all the ethnic groups, faith groups together, because every faith groups think that they are the best, but we don't. We all need to collaborate because we are from different parts of the world. We speak the different language, eat different food, but we're all American. And I am the one who could bring that voice together. I'm the one who could implement those ideas because I have demonstrated it over the years. Nobody gave me anything on the platter that, take it, Harmesh, you are such a nice person. This is a bucket full of money and full of all the goodies. You go and enjoy it. Nobody gave me that. I created myself, and I will create the same kind of thing for all the residents in Concord. So I ask for your vote. I ask for your support. My website is www.drkumarforthecommunity.com. And you have my Facebook, you have my email on there. You have even my cell phone over there. 4 days when I'm in the prison from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., I cannot pick up the phone because I'm in the prison. But Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I'm available full time. I will listen to you. I will hear you, and I'll try to do everything you ask me to do. Thank you so much once again for bringing all of us together. Thank you.
So thank you very much. So thank you to the 4 candidates for your final thing. There is one other candidate. Her name is Tristan Piper, and she was going to participate, but 2 days ago she suddenly had to go out of town, and so she wasn't able to be here tonight. I just have a couple things to say before Tim wraps up, and that is that all of the web pages for all of the people, all the candidates, all 5 candidates are both on the Nextdoor notice, and they're also on the Facebook page where this presentation was tonight. Also on the Facebook page, I posted, there were some questions about the methadone clinic, and I posted some document there and a little explanation, and I also posted that BART land proposal document there for anybody who'd like to see them. And that's all I have to say. So back to Tim.
This thing was really cool. I really think this worked neat. I hope you guys all had fun, and thank everybody for tuning in. I really have no idea how many people tuned in over there on Facebook, but I hope it's a bunch. So we're gonna say goodbye to everybody, and we will talk to y'all, try it again maybe sometime. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.